What we need to understand is we have been focusing on the technology that is behind information systems. We've been talking about a number of things, but basically in IT, the main focus is normally on hardware, software, data, networking, um, and we have some other businesses, processes, and some key roles that are actually are actually played in the business or in the success of a business. Now, it is of essence for us to realize that people are involved in information systems in any way that you can probably think. We have people that are actually uh, imagining information systems. Before they come to the implementation, we have people that are actually thinking or visualizing them. We also have people that develop the information systems. We have people that support the information systems. And we have the people who also use information systems. So information systems minus people, uh, in other words, I'm trying to say that information systems cannot exist without the existence of people. Okay? So the first group of people that I will talk about are the creators of information systems. The creators of information systems. This is the first group of people. Now, there are people that actually design the system. They have a role of designing, developing, and building the information systems. So there are people that are really technical. They have background in computer programming. They have background in mathematics. So there are people with skills, and they're really focusing on having the information system available for people. So on average, if you look at just everyone working in this group of people, then we have majority of them having at least a minimum of a bachelor degree in computer science or in information systems. But this is not necessary. It's not a requirement that is really necessary. We can have people that have diplomas, certificates, and all that still working in that area. So the people who are creators of information systems, we have the system analyst as the first person who takes part in the creation of information systems. Now, the system analyst is actually playing the role in between identifying the business needs, uh, imagining how actually the new system will look, is also going to actually design, uh, 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 is going to design a computer-based system. So we have a business needs. He identifies the business needs. Then he's trying to imagine a solution to that need via a computer system. Then he's going to try to design that solution using computer-aided diagrams to have a computer-based systems that can actually uh, fulfill the needs. So we have the system analyst working with maybe another person or a team or even a department that has some business requirements and is going to identify what are the specific requirements of the system or the specific functionalities of the system that are supposed to be built. So the analyst will be required to really have a good understanding of the business that is being considered, and also what are the business processes that are actually involved in the business, and also is a person who is supposed to have knowledge in documentation or the ability to document those business processes well. He's also going to identify the stakeholders. We'll identify the stakeholders in the system, and is going to work to involve the appropriate people in the construction process. Identify the stakeholders. When you talk about stakeholders, we talk about the people who own the system. or the people you are designing the system for, and is also going to work in partnership with other people to actually make sure that the development process goes well. So when we have determined what are the requirements of the system, now the analyst will convert those requirements into a system design. Now, let me just take you out of context, but we try to compare things. Before you build a house, logically speaking, before you build a house, and actually a house that is a little bit complicated in terms of structure and appearance, you would want to have an architect drawing your house. So you have somebody who is actually going to draw your house, and when drawing the house, you have what we call the blueprint, and the blueprint has both the measurements, or we can say the estimates, maybe of rooms, the estimates of how the garden is going to actually be made. Is going also to measure how many cars can be in the parking lot, for instance. Yeah, so in information systems, basically, this is uh, uh, this is what we call designing. We are bringing into visibility the appearance of the system in terms of interfaces, user interfaces, and all that, how the system is going to be to be. Yeah, so it is like an architect drawing a building. Yeah, so that is what I mean by translating those requirements into a system design. So if you are a good analyst, then you will need to have, or you will need to understand um, the available or the different technological solutions that will actually work with the business problem. And you should also be in a position to suggest alternatives, technologies to the requester. Now, the technology and the alternative technologies are actually based on the budgetary solution of the company, or the budgetary constraints of the company. How much money does the company have in place for the development or for the construction of that particular project? Apart from looking at the budget, you also look what technologies are available and what is the culture. So after you have now selected the best solution that suits that business problem, then the analyst is going to create a document. And this document is going to have a lot of details describing the system that is actually proposed. Um, so having creating this document will actually need that the analyst would understand how to speak in that technical language of system developers. So generally, the system analyst is not the one who is going to build the actual system. Um, he is going to actually use the design document to give details that are actually needed for the designing of the system. So it's going to give that the design document to programmers, or maybe to a programmer, or maybe many programmers who are going to actually create the system. In other cases, we have other system analysts that can actually create systems. They are programmers, so they can go ahead and create the system or implement the design. So a person who has the skills of both a programmer and an analyst, we call that person programmer analyst. He can do both. He can do the work of a system analyst, and at the same time, he can actually um, implement the system. So you have other cases where a system is actually made from uh, some off the shelf components. You're taking different components off the shelf, then you integrate them, or you put them together. It's like assembling, yeah? The way you can order spare parts for You can order parts for a vehicle, then you assemble them. Or you can order parts for laptops, then you assemble them. Yeah. So you can also do the same from a system. You take different components, then you integrate them. So a person who actually integrates different components of a system is known as a system integrator. It is basically an area that requires, as an analyst, requires you to actually get some different software packages that you can work with. Now, if one wants to become a system analyst, then as a person you should have a background in two important areas. And the first area is the business area, and the second area is in the system design. You should have a background in both business and system design. Now, you will come to realize that majority of the system analysts that we have are people that have actually worked as system developers, or they have worked as programmers. They have experience in the business before they actually became system analysts. The second person under the information system creators, we have the programmer. Now, a programmer will spend all his time writing code. Write code in a computer programming language. Of course, we have different types of programming languages, and the option of a programming language is dependent on your need and your expertise, also what you're trying to create and how good you are in that language. So in system development, what the programmers do, they are actually trying to create or to fulfill the design specifications that they receive from the system analyst. It is like the mason, how do we call them masons? Yes, the person who now converts that drawing of a house into a real house. So that is now a programmer. He's implementing the system, he's converting that drawing into a real system. So you have many different types of programming that exists. We have programmers that can work alone. Now, if you work alone, basically means that you are going to have a lot of time. You will need a lot of time to actually work through a system. Then we have programmers that work as a group or as a team. Now, when working as a team, you can decide to handle one prototype or one section of a program at a time, or you split the system into various parts and you allow each one to work on it. So you need to be able to understand some complex processes, and also you need to have knowledge in more than one programming language. Yeah, like for example, I do front end development, and I did not only learn JavaScript, I learned other programming languages. So I know JavaScript, I know Python, I know C++, and I know some scripting languages. Python is one of them, JavaScript is one of them, some PHP. Yeah, at the end of the day, you will have to understand. You will realize that you will need to have more than one programming language for you to be able to work as a programmer. The other person is a computer engineer. Now, the work of the computer engineer is actually to design the computing devices that we are using every day. The person who designs the computer, the person who designs the Android mobile phones, and etc. So we have many types of computer engineers who are actually implementing or working on different types of devices and systems. And the more prominent engineer jobs are: one, we have the hardware engineer. A hardware engineer is a person that actually design some hardware components. Now, what is a hardware? A hardware is a tangible part of a computer. For example, the keyboard, the mouse, the central processing unit, etc. So the people that actually design these hardware components, for example, you have microprocessors, are hardware engineers. Okay, so the hardware engineer uh, is somebody that often at times is in charge of making sure that they create new things. So in hardware engineering jobs, in hardware engineering, you can maybe create a new thing. You can work on maybe an existing hardware. You just make it faster, or you make it more efficient in terms of speed and power consumption. So you have the hardware engineer many a times has the job of making sure that they write um, programs that will actually be implemented in a computer directly, of course via chips. We have the software engineer, a person that is not dealing with devices, is the person that creates some new programming languages, some operating systems. Is a person that actually works at the lowest levels of the hardware to actually develop new kinds of software to run on the hardware. We have a system engineer who is actually the person that is going to take the designed components that are made by other engineers, then integrate them, make them work together. For example, to build a computer, the motherboard, the processor, the memory, the hard disk, all of them have to be put together and making sure that they actually work in unison. So to be a system engineer, you need to have experience with different types of hardware. You need to have some experience with software. You need to know how to put them together to make sure that they work together effectively. We also have the network engineer, and the network engineer is has a job to actually understand the requirements of an organization in terms of networking, and then design the communications then that is going to meet the needs of that particular organization, of course using the networking hardware and the available softwares. So we have so many different types of engineers and job descriptions that may overlap. Some might call themselves engineers based on what company they are really working, etc. So that's it about the people, the creators of information system. Now, let's talk about information system operations and administration. The people that actually operate information systems, the people that actually are in charge in administration of information systems. And this is basically a group of professionals that are actually involved in the day-to-day operations and even administration of information technology. So there are people who must keep some systems running, make sure the system is running, the system is up to date. Okay. So the first person is the computer operator. This is someone who actually keeps those big, large computers running. His job is to make sure that he's overseeing the mainframe computers, some data centers in organizations. So they have the duties of keeping the systems up to date, ensuring that there's enough space, there's disk storage, if there is any physical the physical environment of the computer is actually taken care of, is looked at. Yeah. So we have mainframes being rapidly replaced with servers. We have also storage management systems, and we also have other platforms. Then we have these computer operators having a larger scope of or a broader scope of jobs. That would be include maybe working on some specialized systems. So we have the database administrator also, who is a person that is managing a database for an organization. So he's the person in charge of creating and maintaining databases that are actually used as part of some application softwares or the data warehouse of the organization. So is most of the times he consults with the system analyst and even programmers. If we have projects that needs to access to the data, needs access to the databases, or we have projects that actually need a creation of new databases, so that the database administrator is going to communicate with the analyst and the programmers to make sure that that need is implemented. So we have the other person who is the help desk or maybe the support analyst. Um, so the help desk is actually the front line or the first line of support for computer users in a company. So it's going to actually to be contacted to assist some people who have problems or maybe need in their information accessibility, or maybe in terms of accessing the information system. So when we talk about a help desk, you're talking about a junior level employee who here does not necessarily need to doesn't necessarily need to know how to answer all the questions that are actually forwarded to the person, but we are going to have help desk analysts who actually works at a level that is a little bit higher or a more senior level to actually offer support, or somebody who has a computer-based knowledge that is going to help them maybe look at a problem at hand. Yeah. So the help desk is actually a good starting point to enter into the IT, because it is going to put you across or expose you to different technologies that are used in the company. So to be a successful help desk analyst, then you need to have communication skills. Actually, not just communication skills, but good communication skills. Yeah, you also need junior level IT skills. So we have another person who is the trainer, and the work of the trainer is to actually teach people some specific computer skills. Maybe you have created a new system, then this guy is gonna teach those people some skills. Now, if you have an enterprise resource planning system, for example, that is being put in place in the organization, then during the implementation process, one of the things you need to do is to teach people how to actually use that software. So as a trainer, you can actually work for maybe a software company, or you can be hired to maybe conduct some classes when they are needed. Okay, so you can also work with companies that offer some regular training sessions, or maybe you can be fully time employed by organization to handle the computer instruction needs, or to be successful in this area. Now you need to be able to communicate some technical concepts, and you also need to practice patience, because you're going to deal with people with different character 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 traits. So the third group of people are the people that manage information systems. Um, this is a group of people that is really important when it comes to having successful information systems in an organization. So we have jobs that are actually associated with the management, and the first one is the Chief Information Officer, who is actually in head of the information system function. So he makes sure that the plans and operations of the information systems are actually aligning with the strategic goals of the organization. So he has tasks like budgeting, strategic planning, and even personnel decisions for the information system function. The Chief Information Officer uh, uh, is actually the mirror, or we can say the face of the IT department in an organization. He's going to work with senior leaders in most of the parts, or maybe all the parts of that organization, to ensure we have good communication and good planning. So it is a very interesting position that does not really require a lot of technical expertise. Um, it is very important just have some good management skills, you understand the business you are in, and and that's it. So in many other businesses, we don't have the chief information officer. Instead, we have maybe the head of the information function, or maybe something like vice president of IAS, or director of IAS, etc, etc, etc. So at times it really depends on the organization you're working in or working with. So you have the functional manager. Now, the functional manager will be seen in larger organizations, because in large organizations you'll be required to actually group some functions together and have some people actually leading those functions. So the functional manager is going to report to the chief information officer. Is also going to actually making sure manages the specific people that they work in his jurisdiction or in his department. So for example, you can have a group of analysts that are actually reporting to the manager of the information system functions. Okay, we also have the ERP management. So if the organization has an ERP, then there are people that are actually needed to manage those systems. They make sure that the ERP system is up to date. If there are any changes that need to be implemented, they implement them, and they also make some consultation with other departments on maybe reports that are actually needed or some data that is actually needed. We also have project managers. Okay, if you have ever worked on an information system project, or the information system project that I have actually worked on, there is one thing you realize, that these are type of projects that can easily go out of budget. They can easily go over the budget, and also they can easily result into a late delivery. The system gets completed late. So we have many failed IT projects that are actually bringing a doom to the company. So we need to have project managers that are actually keeping projects on time and also in budget. So it's going to the project manager will make sure that collaborates with the stakeholders to make sure that we have the team organized. Is going to be updating the stakeholders on the progress of the project. So it's not going to have full authority over the project team, but it's going to just coordinate some schedules, plan, and also the resources to make sure that we have maximized project outcomes. So you must be a good communicator. In other words, you need to have good communication skills. You need to be very organized. You need to be very organized. You should be you should be having good people skills. Okay, so on to the other person, who is the information security officer, that is actually in charge of setting up the information security policies for an organization. Is also going to make sure that those policies are actually implemented. So someone who has one or maybe more people that are actually reporting to them as part of that information security team. So information is becoming a critical asset, and therefore the position of the information security officer is really taking into the market. It's really taking into the market. So as a person in that jurisdiction, you need to make sure that you have an organization, the information of the organization remains secure from both internal and external threats. Now we have other roles that are really coming out. We call them emerging roles, because we have the technology growing every day. So new roles are coming out more and more. We are entering into a field known as the big data. So we need more data analysts. We need more people in the business intelligence area. We have companies that are now hiring people we call social media experts. We have people that are actually mobile technology specialists. So we have now cloud computing and virtual machine coming in hand. and this is going to increase the demand also in this particular area. Okay, for that's it about the people. So we will be covering in the next lesson the different skills that are needed to undertake the key roles of information system development. For example, for you to become a system analyst, what skill do you need? For you to become a computer programmer, what skill do you need? For you to become a chief information officer, what skill do you need? What skills do you actually need? That will be the major thing that we will be talking about in the coming lesson. So till next time, you have a great day ahead.